Cassibelanus was a historical British tribal chief who led the defense against Julius Caesar's second expedition to Britain in 54 BC. He led an alliance of tribes against Roman forces, but eventually surrendered after his location was revealed to Julius Caesar by defeated Britons. Cassibelanus made an impact on the British consciousness. He appears in British legend as Cassibelanus, one of Geoffrey of Monmouth's kings of Britain, and in the Mabinogion, the Brut y Brenhinedd and the Welsh Triads as Caswallawn, son of Beli Mawr. His name in Common Briton.Cassivellaunus comes from Proto-Celtic *Cassi, passion, love, hate, plus *Elnemon, leader, sovereign. History. Cassibelanus appears in Julius Caesar's commentary De Bello Gallico. Having been given command of the combined British forces opposing Caesar's second invasion of Britain, Caesar does not mention Cassibelanus's tribe, but his territory, north of the River Thames, corresponds with that inhabited by the tribe named the Cattuvellani at the time of the later invasion under Claudius. Caesar tells us that Cassibelanus had previously been in near constant conflict with his neighbors, as was typical of the British tribes in this period, and had recently brought down the king of the Trinovantes, the most powerful tribe in Britain at the time. The king's son, Mandubracius, fled to Caesar in Gaul. Despite Cassibelanus's harrying tactics, designed to prevent Caesar's army from foraging and plundering for food, Caesar advanced to the Thames. The only fordable point was defended and fortified with sharp stakes, but the Romans managed to cross it. Cassibelanus dismissed most of his army and resorted to guerrilla tactics, relying on his knowledge of the territory and the speed of his chariots. 5 British tribes, the Cenomanii, the Segonchiki, the Ancalites, the Bybrochi and the Cassi, surrendered to Caesar and revealed the location of Cassibelanus's stronghold, thought to be at Wheathampstead, which Caesar proceeded to put under siege. Cassibelanus managed to get a message to the 4 kings of Kent, Cingetorix, Carvilius, Taxamegalus and Segovax, to gather their forces and attack the Roman camp on the coast, but the Romans defended themselves successfully, capturing a chieftain called Lugotrix. On hearing of the defeat and the devastation of his territories, Cassibelanus surrendered. The terms were mediated by Commius, Caesar's Gallic ally. Hostages were given and a tribute agreed. Mandubracius was restored to the kingship of the Trinovantes, and Cassibelanus undertook not to wage war against him. All this achieved, Caesar returned to Gaul where a poor harvest had caused unrest. The Roman legions did not return to Britain for another 97 years. The Greek author Polyaenus relates an anecdote in his Stratagemata that Caesar overcame Cassibelanus's defense of a river crossing by means of an armored elephant. This claim may derive from a confusion with the Roman conquest of 43 AD, when Claudius is supposed to have brought elephants to Britain. Legend. Historia Regum Britanniae. Cassibelanus appears in Geoffrey of Monmouth's 12th century work Historia Regum Britanniae, usually spelled Cassibelanus or Cassibelanus. The younger son of the former King Heli, he becomes king of Britain upon the death of his elder brother Lud, whose own sons Androgeus and Tenventius are not yet of age. In recompense, Androgeus is made Duke of Kent and Trinovantum, and Tenventius is made Duke of Cornwall. After his conquest of Gaul, Julius Caesar sets his sights on Britain and sends a letter to Cassibelanus demanding tribute. Cassibelanus refuses, citing the Britons and Romans' common Trojan descent, and Caesar invades at the Thames estuary. During the fighting, Cassibelanus's brother Nennius encounters Caesar and sustains a severe head wound. Caesar's sword gets stuck in Nennius's shield. field, and when the two are separated in the melee, Nennius throws away his own sword and attacks the Romans with Caesar's, killing many, including the tribune Labienus. The Britons hold firm, and at night Caesar flees back to Gaul. Cassibelanus's celebrations are muted by Nennius's death from his head wound. He is buried with the sword he took from Caesar, which is named Croce Mors. 2 years later, Caesar invades again with a larger force. Cassibelanus, forewarned, had planted stakes beneath the waterline of the Thames which gut Caesar's ships, drowning thousands of men. The Romans are once again quickly put to flight. The leaders of the Britons gather in Trinovantum to thank the gods for the victory with many animal sacrifices and celebrate with sporting events. During a wrestling bout, Cassibelanus's nephew Hyalglas is killed by Androgeus's nephew Quellinus. Cassibelanus demands that Androgeus turn his nephew over to him for trial, but Androgeus refuses, insisting he should be tried in his own court in Trinovantum. Cassibelanus threatens war, and Androgeus appeals to Caesar for help. Caesar invades a third time, landing at Richborough. As Cassibelanus's army meets Caesar's, Androgeus attacks Cassibelanus from the rear with 5,000 men. His line broken, Cassibelanus retreats to a nearby hilltop. After 2 days' siege, Androgeus appeals to Caesar to offer terms. Cassibelanus agrees to pay tribute of 3,000 pounds of silver, and he and Caesar become friends. 6 years later, Cassibelanus dies and is buried in York. Androgeus has gone to Rome with Caesar. Satenventius succeeds as king of Britain. Welsh literature. Cassibelanus appears as Caswallawn, son of Beli Mawr, in the Welsh Triads, the Mabinogion, and the Welsh versions of Geoffrey's Historia Regum Britanniae known as the Brut y Brenhinedd. In the second branch of the Mabinogion, he appears as a usurper who seizes the throne of Britain while the rightful king, Bran the Blessed, is at war in Ireland. Using a magic cloak which renders him invisible, he kills the 7 stewards Bran has left in charge, while the 8th, Bran's son Caradog, dies of bewilderment at the sight of a disembodied sword killing his men. He then appears in the third branch, in which Bran's followers offer the submission to him to avoid fighting. He is also mentioned in the tale Lud and Lephilis, which features his 2 brothers Lud Law Rhaint and Lephilis. Caswallawn is referenced frequently in the Welsh Triads. Triad 51 describes his conflict with Afoaway as described in Geoffrey of Monmouth, while Triad 95 references the story of Caradog, son of Bran's death as told in the Mabinogion. However, other triads refer to a tradition about Caswallawn not drawn from either Roman nor existing medieval sources. Triad 38 names his horse as Minos and calls him one of the 3 bestowed horses of the island of Britain. This is echoed in Triad 59, in which the decision to allow the Romans to land in Britain in exchange for Minos is called one of the 3 unfortunate councils of the island of Britain. Triad 35 indicates that Caswallawn left Britain with 21,000 men in pursuit of Caesar and never returned. Triad 67 and 71 portray Caswallawn as a great lover who competed with Caesar over the beautiful Fflur. He is named as one of the 3 golden shoemakers of the island of Britain in relation to his trip to Rome seeking his love. Context suggests he disguised himself as a shoemaker. A later collection of triads compiled by the 18th century Welsh antiquarian Ilo Morganwg gives an expansive expanded version of this tradition, including the details that Caswallawn had abducted Fflur from Caesar in Gaul, killing 6,000 Romans, and that Caesar invaded Britain in response. As with the rest of Mabinogion triads, however, the provenance of these references is suspect. However, the 12th century poet Cyndif Brut y Mawr knew of some version of the Fflur story, writing that Caesar's love for her was costly. Welsh scholar Rachel Bromwich suggests the fragmentary allusions to Caswallawn in the triads relate to a narrative of the character that has been lost. This may have been in the form of a romance detailing the king's adventures, but would have been largely uninfluenced by the classical accounts.